Hello indie game fans! Part 2 of the recap of the 50 best looking pixel art indie games released in 2019 starts with Pathway, a roguelite turn-based tactics game set in the 1930s with an Indiana Jones vibe to it. Lead a band of explorers to unravel the mysteries of the occult while fighting off Nazi scum. Developer Robotality is known for their gorgeous pixel art, and Pathway certainly did not disappoint. However, upon launch, the reception was pretty mixed, citing the grind needed to progress in the campaigns, but in the patches since launch in April, it has improved tremendously and is worth going back to.
After a long journey, we finally reached our destination. But that was only just the beginning.
Killer Chambers is on the list due to the simplicity of its design and the clean, crisp pixel art. This is a puzzle action platformer that requires you to dodge various hazards and traps, all taking place in exceedingly claustrophobic rooms. I do like the character portraits in this, showing that simple can be effective sometimes, and an awesomely designed game as well. LITTLEWOOD is a farming sim RPG that takes place in a world that has already been saved from the monsters, and you play as the amnesiac hero, finding your way in this brave new world. This is one of the most chill farming sim experiences available and is super pleasant, with townsfolk to interact with, chores like fishing and mining, as well as town building, monster tarot card battling, crafting, cooking, bug catching, and more. A steady stream of patches have made this even better, so high up on my list of early access games. Another early access title which I enjoyed is Monster Sanctuary. Self-describes as monster taming meets Metroidvania, since you can tame a party of creatures, take part in turn-based battles, but explore the overworld with 2D platforming. There are special items that grant you abilities like the double jump, and also your creatures have specific powers that allow you to unlock new areas. Interestingly, the graphics did get an update not reflected in the trailer, with an overhaul of the design of the main playable character, so pretty interesting, and you guys know me, always waiting to be amazed at the monster designs. One of the titles that I didn't see enough people talking about is Mole Astray, a puzzle action platformer where you play as a parasitic blob and find your way through a lab overtaken by some sort of mutation. Pixel art is awesome, with some nice lighting effects, though it takes a while to get going. As some of you mentioned in the previous video, of course Noita makes the list for part 2. A roguelite platformer where every pixel is simulated, this one makes the cut purely due to how technically impressive this is. The environmental interactions are the most impressive part, where fluid dynamics, gas ignition, lava, ice and more are all considered. Made by some of the minds behind some of the best indie games out there, this one is a favourite among the Spelunky crowd, and for good reason, since the scale and the scope of the emergent stories are limitless. Demon's Tilt had a surprise launch out of early access since it hit 1.0 in December, but was initially planned for January, but the developers just went ahead to push that button. This is a pinball game through and through, similar to Devil's Crush on the Genesis, and I think that it's high time that more indie developers made games like this, since while it is pinball at its core, the modern trappings of a table that evolves and the awesome pixel art certainly help with its case. Alright, this one didn't really click with me in terms of the combat, but I have to hand it to Redo since it is a pixel art Metroidvania with some impressive art. Play as a human in a dystopian world filled with bio-machines as you fight your way through, getting weapons and upgrades that allows you to explore further. It is dark and moody, with quite the punishing sense of helplessness, and one that perhaps may be of interest to you. Another one of the more timely games to release this year, Riot Civil Unrest places you at the heart of conflicts between civilians and the riot police, with an impressive number of people in the crowds, with a pixel art style similar to Super Brothers, Sword and Sorcery. Play as either the civilians or the riot police, but this is an action strategy game that gives you objectives for each scenario, but your performance and tactics are rated. Steam Workshop support is also present, but very impressed by the detail and the mobs of people. Again, Touhou Luna Nights makes the list, since this is a pixel art Metroidvania drawing from the Touhou franchise, and was an experience which I thoroughly enjoyed in 2019. Freezing time and grazing by enemy attacks contribute to the style of this game, which of course is complemented by the high detail pixel art. I like the character models in particular, and a title that you should not sleep on. Rising Hell is a vertical roguelite platformer where you climb through the levels of hell and slay demons on your way up. This is from an Indonesian developer, so Asia represents, and I like how this controls, since jumping up through an enemy or falling down on them results in an attack which feels great to chain together. There are roguelite meta progression elements like upgrades and unlocking of new characters and weapons, but I am very impressed by the range of colours and the sheer amount of detail. River City Girls is perhaps not so indie, but this is a beat-em up which is officially an entry in the River City Ransom franchise, brought to you by the folks at WayWard, and is a reversal of the traditional hero saves the damsel plot. Shame that the trailer doesn't show off more of the pixel art, but it looks stunningly detailed with great backgrounds as well. Delpharis also made my list of the best indie games of the year, and is a heavy metal action platformer with a surprisingly colourful palette as compared to the general grim-dark tone of the game. Fun weapons, interesting locations, and one of the more cleverly designed risk-reward systems makes this a must-play, so throw up the horns with me. Just a quick note, if you are new here and enjoyed the video so far, be sure to subscribe and check out the Discord channel while you are at it. Here's to more indie gaming coverage, so back to the video. Sea Salt is a dark fantasy reverse horror action strategy game, so think cosmic horror Pikmin, and that is the vibe. Lead your hordes of nightmarish creatures and descend on the town and humanity, since the priest of the Church of Dagon went back on his promise of human sacrifice when it was his turn. One thing which I noticed about the pixel art is that your units and enemies have a border around them, while the background elements like ships and buildings don't, making the interactable elements really pop, and is a clever visual trick. Such awesome backgrounds, especially of the skyline and the church interior, and add to that the wonderful music, very well done theme, and awesome gameplay, and we have a winner. The open world action-adventure title that is very reminiscent of old-school GTA is Shakedown Hawaii, which uses the 16-bit look to great effect. Play the role of an aging capitalist trying to exploit new trends like superfoods and repacking soft drinks to sell you less for more money. If all of that fails, there's always good old shakedowns for protection money, as well as the criminal use of force as you take over businesses in the city one by one. The environments are destructible, with a large variety of weapons, vehicles, cosmetic customization, side missions, a main story campaign, and so on, and really provides quite a large amount of content. Man, Virgo vs the Zodiac really came out at a bad time, just as all of the Game of the Year content was done and dusted, but certainly don't sleep on this one. This is a Mario RPG-like title with fun characters, an interesting alternative take on storytelling since you play as the villain, and an awesomely conveyed astrology theme. Virgo wants to take down the various zodiac signs to bring back the Golden Age, and has been labelled the Dreadful Queen by heretics. You can ride cute and fluffy alpacas with an active turn-based combat system with its share of deep mechanics as well. On the technical side of the pixel art, no character outlines in this, so perhaps a little muted and doesn't pop, but the environments and battle screens are particularly impressive. I first caught wind of Downward when it was still a title on itch.io, and I'm glad to see it make the jump to Steam and for free as well. This is an exploration puzzle platformer where you gather collectibles and rekindle dormant relics from an ancient land. But oh my goodness, just look at the art. Very interesting limited use of colors, but this game in motion is so impressive. Love the moon in particular. The roguelite platformer Spirit's Abyss is very Spelunky-like and took the #1 spot on the early access games of October, and for good reason. Everything you love about Spelunky, but with its own take on characters and progression, as well as really awesome pixel art which is pretty consistent across the games that this developer has made, could potentially develop into something great.
Brace yourself!
This one is a no-brainer as well, since Wargroove was one of my most anticipated titles for 2019, and it did live up to the expectation of bringing back Advanced Wars. The 4 factions feel distinct, and I love the overworld sprites in particular, although the hero designs are wonderful as well. This got a free content patch that added a new faction and more units, so glad to see the continued support. The Eternal Castle Remastered is a fake remaster of a game that was supposed to be released in 1987, but there never was such a game. So a clever marketing ploy which did rub some people the wrong way. However, the 2-bit CGA look is distinct and again looks very impressive in motion. It feels like a cinematic platformer with an increased focus on combat and guns, where you are thrust into a central mystery that just keeps going as you explore this planet. Very happy that a game like this can still find an audience in 2019. Undermine is a top-down roguelite action game which is very good, since it combines the gameplay loop of something like Isaac with that of Rogue Legacy, really nailing that one more run feel. And of course, with mining, gold and loot being the central theme, it fits in nicely with the improvement of your home base and purchasing of upgrades. The enemy designs are the thing to watch out for here, and in large quantities does look particularly impressive. This is consistently updated and is gaining a lot of momentum, so hop on the train for a great time. First job survival horror. That is what Yuppie Psycho self-describes as, and in a very fitting way has you playing as a young man who is massively underqualified but somehow manages to land a job at Sintra Corp. However, he quickly realizes that the job is to kill the witch, a supernatural force that made the company a success but has returned to torment its employees. It's quite an interesting game since you explore the workplace and get familiar with the different floors, but there are dark secrets and horrific monstrosities lurking as well. The lines of reality are blurred, and of course, there's a whole meta commentary on toxic working environments. Regardless, interesting use of pixel art and shows how versatile this medium can be. Many of you would not have seen this one coming, but Wayward Souls is a procedurally generated roguelite action RPG with 7 character classes, over 100 monster types, and unique story events for each character. Think of a streamlined Diablo-like experience, but in pixel art, and you get the idea. Controls pretty well, and the mobs of enemies are challenging in their own right, but for some awesome hack and slash fun, this is one to check out.
Commencing operations. It's a trap.
The very Smash TV-like XENO Crisis also released this year on Steam, and that is after a Kickstarter campaign that saw physical cartridges being made for the Genesis, which is insane in 2019. The pixel art is in high definition and very good, especially in the alien designs, but for a fun arena action twin-stick shooter, can't go wrong with this. Pretty challenging in that old school kind of way, but dog tags collected from slain enemies do give you the option for upgrades as well, and is a title which I recommend.
XENO Crisis.
Rounding off the list is Void Run, an arcade action game that plays like the classic arcade game Kicks, where you have to surround your enemies with void balls in order to destroy them. This uses a new element in modern indie games of having you at your most powerful at the start and slowly depowering you as you advance in the game, so quite the interesting design with really beautiful pixel art that stands out. Thank you all so much for being a part of the channel, and here's to more great indie gaming coverage in 2020. But I got a couple more surprises up my sleeve before the year ends, so stay tuned to the channel. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, share and subscribe. Check out the recommended playlist or the best pick for you, and I will see you after the jump.